former Joe Biden staffer when he was a senator from Delaware, is accusing him of sexually assaulting her. The staffer named Tara, I believe it's Tara Reid, I believe, was a staffer for then Senator Joe Biden. I believe it was during 1993, and Tara Reid, has came out before and said that he, had sexually harassed her before and kind of did some inappropriate touching, but nothing that quite rose to the level of these disclosures that Tara Reid provided during this interview she did with Katie Halpert. You can look it up on SoundCloud. I highly recommend listening to the whole thing. I listened to the whole thing earlier today while I was on a bike ride, getting some social distancing and some exercise, and listened to this interview, and it was just really, honestly, really just troubling and disturbing to hear how Joe Biden treated this person. And again, it's even more despicable in my opinion, because he was in that position of authority, that position of power over Tara Reid, and he was doing the whole sexual harassment thing, like touching her when she didn't want to be touched, and not asking her before touching her, just this really weird and just really creepy behavior. I mean, I guess there's a reason he's called, creepy creepy Joe Biden in a sense, because it seems like he has no personal boundaries and he just thinks he can touch all of these women whenever and however he wants, because he's this powerful, senator at the time. And it's just really, just disgusting and immoral on every level. So during this interview, Tara was basically talking about how, I forget if it was in her office or Biden's office, but anyways, they were in the same room. Joe Biden, she was, I think, I don't know, giving him dropping off something for him, or he was getting something from her, whatever it was. He basically just gets really close to her, kind of pushes her up against the wall, if my memory's correct, and then basically just begins to sexually assault Tara at this point, and sticks his fingers inside her without any type of consent or anything. It's just hugely, obviously illegal, disgusting, immoral, just sick. Like, thinking that's okay to do that to some other person and they're not a willing participant. I mean, that's consent super important, and that's like just so like fucked up. Obviously, like sexually assaulting somebody when you're a senator and you're in this position of power and they're working on your staff, and obviously nobody should be engaging in sexual assault, but I feel like it's even more egregious sometimes if you're this position, you're this person who is in this highly powerful position, you're a US senator, one of only 100 in the country, and you have this young staffer working for you. And Tara during the interview was saying, he was like, I saw him like a father figure. He was old enough to be her dad. And then so after Joe Biden sexually assaults her, she kind of tries to get away, and he was like, what? I thought you liked that. I heard that you liked me. It's like, oh my God, even if that was the case, that does not give you the right to, without consent, just go out there and just finger a bunch of people. It's fucking disgusting, Joe Biden, Jesus Christ. And she said you were old enough to be her dad, and just because you thought she liked you thought it was okay to sexually assault her. I mean, that's obviously problematic on so many levels. And then he was like, and then she said one of the things at the, I don't know, towards the start of the interview, Tara was basically saying that there were some words he said that I didn't want to share, but then Katie brought it back to that aspect at the latter part of the interview, and what Tara said was that after this right after this encounter in that building or in that room when it was still just the two of them, she said that Joe told her that he meant that she meant nothing to him right after sexually assaulting her. I mean, this is the kind of just depraved and disgusting individual that Joe Biden is. And, Joe Biden says that he believes all women. So is he going to come out and say, say I fucked up here, I sexually assaulted this person 30 years ago, and take any type of responsibility for it? I haven't heard anything from his campaign or any of his surrogates or anything, which, is pretty troubling, and is obviously his silence during the pandemic as well. But on this issue, and it doesn't seem like it's being picked up really at all by mainstream media, even though this is really serious. A lot of people highlighted and pointed out all of the allegations of sexual harassment and sexual assault against Donald Trump. Looks like we have a very credible sexual assault allegation now against Joe Biden, but it doesn't seem like the mainstream media wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole, and it's really disgusting on their part as well that they're not trying to hold Biden accountable on this. And then so there's also some other layers to this as well, because Tara brought these concerns about, or these allegations against Joe Biden to the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, which basically helps people through the legal process, I think by providing them with some type of resources or maybe pro bono legal aid or whatnot, if they have been, victims of sexual assault, sexual harassment, that type of thing. But they said that they couldn't because it would be a conflict of interest and they might lose their nonprofit status, which is like, that makes no sense at all because Joe Biden was a candidate. They said that by helping Tara out with this case, they would lose their nonprofit status, which doesn't make any sense at all, which actually I think what the reason is because one of the higher ups within the Time's Up organization, was it Anita Dunn, I believe, is also, guess what, one of the senior advisors to the Joe Biden campaign. So look at that. The Time's Up Legal Defense Fund said they couldn't help Tara Reade out, with these allegations of sexual assault against Joe Biden. And look at that, a top Joe Biden campaign advisor, somebody who's really integral to the campaign, is also a higher up at this I think it's this lobbying firm or whatnot that works up at the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. So you have that aspect of it. And then as well, I believe Tara was saying that she had reached out to a number of news outlets, different newspapers. I think she had mentioned the New York Times, the Washington Post, as well as some other ones, trying to share her story so this gets out there so people know what messed up stuff Joe Biden has done, and they never got back to her. She never heard anything back from that. So I mean, you have failings at just multiple levels here of just the media on multiple accounts not trying to investigate or hold Joe Biden accountable for these very credible sexual assault allegations that Tara Reade has brought against Joe Biden. And Tara was really talking about how she's just trying to she's really into restorative and transformative justice, and she just wanted to get her story out there to hopefully inspire other people if they've been hesitant to come forward and share their stories about sexual harassment, sexual assault, rape, that type of thing, to break the stigma around that, so we're able to have these conversations. And as Tara pointed out, it's past the statute of limitations for the sexual assault she experienced at the hands of Joe Biden. But it's still important to have these conversations, to shed light on it, to get rid of the stigma, and to make sure that these powerful people, they're at least held accountable in the court of public opinion, if not in a courtroom, per se. And she's a Tara is a lawyer. Part of her um, paid work is she's really into the domestic violence work and helping out people within that field. So that's kind of her way that she's found to help out the community that she kind of has some experience in, with her being sexually assaulted at the hands of Joe Biden back in the early 90s. And then Tara was also saying, the different forms of sexual harassment that she experienced by Joe Biden. She tried to talk to the higher ups, like her boss and her boss's boss, I think, about these things. And they basically tried to, like, well, it's just not a big deal, don't worry about it. And they just didn't really take it as seriously, obviously, as they should have. And then also that Biden at one point had, through one of his surrogates, told Tara that he thought she was really pretty and she should come to this event and wear a certain type of dress or clothing. So, I mean, he's just hugely just creepy and disturbing. Then you have all these, other women, I think it's at least 7 others, who have accused him of inappropriate touching. And then you have these, weird, just these weird photos and videos of him, like, trying to touch these different women and just complete strangers, and they recoil. I mean, there's a long list of evidence of just Joe Biden's just completely morally, bankrupt behavior. And, this is just the tip of the iceberg, honestly. But, I mean, is the mainstream media going to pick up on this story at all, or they're just going to pretend like, Joe Biden's wasn't just accused of sexual assault? And again, I believe Tara. Joe says he believes, women when they, make these claims. Is he going to believe Tara? What's his response going to be? Hiding Biden, where are you at on this? Where are you at on the pandemic? We need some supposed leadership from the Democratic frontrunner, and we've got nothing but silence on this issue, on the pandemic, on all these other things. I mean, so if Joe Biden is the nominee, I mean, you got a choice between, 2 people accused of, sexual assault against women, Biden and obviously Trump. Who hasn't? Bernie Sanders. And who also has a platform, who helps the working people and wants to have a sane and just foreign policy, and wants to fight for things like Medicare for all, so we don't have people dying and going bankrupt, and tuition-free college, so we don't have people shackled with tens of thousands of dollars of student loan debt, so we have a Green New Deal, so we have an inhabitable planet to live on, so we have a living wage, so we have good trade deals, legal weed, cancel student loan debt, all of these things. Bernie is for them, Biden's not, and he's also, capable of sexual assault, which is obviously hugely disgusting and disturbing on its own right. So, I mean, there's no choice. It's Bernie or people or sexual assaulters, and obviously we don't need any of those in office. And kudos and solidarity with Tara coming out and sharing this part of her story with Katie Halper. Again, check out that interview on SoundCloud. And it took a lot of strength and courage for her to stand up and share what happened to her. This really obviously troubling and disturbing and deeply impactful experience in a negative way that happened to her through getting sexually assaulted by Joe Biden, getting sexually harassed by him. She's been called a Russian troll and a bot and all of these really just horrible and disgusting things, because people are trying to make excuses for Joe Biden when there is no excuse. There's never a reason to sexually assault, sexually harass, invade people's space, take advantage of them through these, power dynamics that he had as a senator and her as a young staffer on his team. And I mean, yeah, so just kudos to Tara for just having the courage and the wherewithal to speak her truth about this experience, even though she knew the kinds of attacks she would be getting from just people, and probably people in the media as well are going to try to spin this and defend Joe Biden. But anyways, very, very troubling story, and again, just another reason not to support Joe Biden. So